panel try this out.
Nice boy.
Cameron.
Yeah, well, basically vote for me because I'm the best. No, seriously, I have a very good, strong, vigorous interest in politics. I watch the Question Time news and I know how politics is, I know the score, and I know that I can represent young people of Shetland very well, because I am the embodiment of young Shetland. I team with the young from Shetland one. I team with the one. I kick it with them. I listen to them. I hear the shit, and I'm like, alright, boy, watch with me, and I can get him done. I'll get it done easy. Maybe, well, not my brother, but I'll try and manage to get it out done. So, but yeah, the other vote for me, but the other fucker are good in that. At least reserve plenty of votes for me.
Thank you very much. Nicole.
I'm so passionate about making sure that young people in Shetland have a say in what's going to affect them and making sure that change happens. I've been involved in Youth Voice for probably about 4 or 5 years now, and I've been in SYP for the past 2 years, and it's been amazing, and I've loved watching from when I started to now. It's been like such a change. I think especially with Youth Voice and the links that the MSYP has, then it means that a lot can be done. And I just hope that vote for me so I can carry on and be able to make sure that more is done. Yeah.
Okay, so straight back to you again, Nicole. Are there any age limits, such as drinking at 18, that you feel should be changed?
I think that the age limits in Scotland are pretty much right, I would say. The only thing I think maybe should be looked at is the driving age. I think that before you're able to sit your test, you should be able to have a year that you have lessons and learn and gain experience. So it should be either the age to be able to drive is lower to 16 and you can only sit a test when you're 17, or you start driving when you're 17 like you do now, but you're only able to sit your test when you're 18.
Bye.
I think that's a very good idea. I'm not going to nick it, but that is a very good idea.
Yeah.
At 16 to get that experience, and then when you go to 17, you take that driver's test, and then you can be confident when you do it. You're not scared or nervous about taking it. You're actually got the experience to do that test, so then you don't have to pay more money just to keep resitting that test, and it can take a while up here to get that test done. I think all the other ages as well are really good. 18, Shaw has a strong drinking culture up here, so maybe that is a good idea to keep it at 18, same with the other age. So I think everything's good, but as Nicole said, that 16 for practicing would be great.
Okay, thank you. I think I'll move on to a different question for the two candidates briefly, but it is in relation to young drivers, and the question is, what do you see as the solution to high fuel prices in Shetland? Emily?
There's recently been plans, I don't know if they're actual full plans or whether they're just suggestions, for the government to try and give relief to rural areas. I personally think I would just that sounds like a perfectly good plan to me. I think it's not something that affects as many young people as perhaps adults. Not to say it doesn't affect any young people, of course it does. It's not top on my list of priorities, but I think the way it's going is very good. I know that it's something that Tavish Scott feels quite strongly about, so in any way I can support him and raise the issue among young people. I think that's probably the role that I would take.
Cameron, the solution to rising petrol prices and that is going to be just make a flat rate for the fuel. So every place in Britain, every petrol station is the same price. So I think it's discrimination that some places have to pay more, some places have to pay less. How I'd instigate that would be through looking into it and seeing how you could find solutions to it, and that I'd really had to look into it more. If I was elected as a member of the Scottish Youth Parliament, I'd definitely I'd prioritise with that, because there'll be a lot of fucking representing who are driving age will be from the cars.
Thank you very much. I was just referring back to the last question briefly about the age limits, and we had the conclusion from you two that with the exception of perhaps driving, most age limits were found as present. Has anybody got any qualifications to make to that, or are we happy with that conclusion?
Yeah, I think that, what's the last one? No.
You go first.
I think there's maybe just children thing, but we get halves and shit, no team that. But they're 16, the other half's new 18. I think that's a joke, that's ridiculous. The fact that it's going, oh, it used to be 40, now it's 16, now the other 18, that's a joke. Young fucking children have nothing to do. You look forward to that half. And just to be like, oh no, it's too young, but then I'm too young. Yeah, 10 years ago, I was too young. It's just ridiculous. I think it's a joke. It's not on. It's not on that. It's just destroying the kind of adult culture of showing heads. I think it's a really good thing, and a lot of the young folk will agree with me that there's a splendid thing down at the house in it. So I think that should be reduced to 14.
Yeah, I do agree. It is part of the culture, but I don't think it's entirely fair to kind of say that that's completely out of order. I think it's kind of been expected for a while, and times are moving on, and people are becoming aware of the drinking culture in Shetland. There's a lot of people wanting to change it. There's a lot of pressure being put on the whole committees. We had a meeting in Youth Voice where we kind of had a massive discussion about it, and there's going to be future contact between the whole committees, the police, and Youth Voice are going to take a pretty active role in that. I do agree that I don't think they should be closed completely, because as you say, they're quite important. However, there's stuff for young people to do in Shetland. I don't think a hall is the only thing you can do. The other thing I'd like to alter the age on is voting. I'd like votes at 16 to happen, but I won't step on that question. Yeah, can I say it? I think that young people can be married, fight for their country, have a baby, or pay taxes, but they can't vote, which to me just is completely preposterous. That does not make any sense. No other group in society would be denied the vote the way that young people are. When you think back to women's suffrage that went on, at the time, the same arguments that were being used against women getting the vote are now being used against young people getting the vote. The benefits of this would be young people who are more than capable and willing to vote on something that is extremely important. The government run the country, they affect almost every single aspect of their lives, and I think it's disgusting that they have no say in that. So.
Thank you very much for that answer. The next question was, of course, where do you stand on bringing down voting age to 16? No problem. I'm bringing down voting age to 16. What would be the benefits? And that question was from Yvette Aronson, age 14. Nicole.
I'm completely for it. Same arguments as Emily. I don't see how the government can say that young people can join the army, get married, have a baby and pay tax. The government decides the tax, so how come people at 16 have to pay it when they get to decide who makes the choices on how much they have to pay? It's also, I just think that young people, it's unfair that they have these responsibilities and yet they can't decide what's in the country.
Cameron.
I agree with Nicole. When you're 16, you can leave school, you can get a job, you'll be paying tax and that, you'll be contributing to the economy, and you want to have a say in how that economy is run. So then you get different types of economic, I get the left, economy's kind of why, and then the free and academic life and all that. So I think that when you're 16 you should be able to vote. I think if that's unanimous between everybody, that when you're 16 you should be able to vote. The only thing I could see as a downside would be some 16-year-olds don't really know what's going on. They might be influenced easily by extreme parties like the BNP and...
But what's to say 18-year-olds can't be?
Oh, 18-year-olds, too easy. I'm not going to say them no, but that's the status quo, 18 is like, but so what, why? It's how it used to be 21, it only became 18 in the 60s, but I think that some people don't possess the responsibility at 16 to make an educated vote. So there'll be I think it's been maybe kind of test, just fill in the form, and if anybody's like, I'm 16, I want to vote, they'll fill in the form and send it along. If somebody's not even German, then they'll just run the vote then.
Nicole, do you want to come in there?
So then maybe you need to looking for political education to go along with that. Maybe you need to see more political education in school so that young people can make the right choice.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with that.
I do think the voting age definitely should be brought down to 16 if you, as Nicole and Emily said, if you can go to Afghanistan and fight for your country, you can get move out your house, you can leave school, you can pay tax and contribute to the economy, then you should definitely have a say in how your country is run. Also, it's a really good way for young people to get involved in how this country is run, so they definitely have a voice in how our country is run because they're paying and contributing to how our country is, so they might as well have their vote, and plus having that extra vote for younger people at an early age will definitely help the government and see what young people want and see how young people want to see their country run.
On a very different issue, I have another question from Class S2 South, and it is, where do you stand on the building of Meheut, despite the fact that it may not be big enough for large events? Emily?
Hang on. Here we go. I think Meheut is going to be a fantastic thing for the young people of Shetland. It's not just going to be, you know, a venue in a cinema. It's also going to be a place to socialise, a new cafe, restaurant. That's going to bring a lot of employment and education opportunities actually for young people. And I actually didn't realise that until it explained to me earlier. I think it's maybe about the fact that it might not be big enough for large events. We still have Twickenham, the Garrison, Aylesbury, you know, we still have these venues. This is kind of like an additional venue for a different type of event, and maybe it will be big enough for large events, but I'm completely in support of doing it.
Barry?
As I've always said, I'm not quite too sure on if Meheut is big enough for large events, but it'd be really good to actually go see it myself, or anyone to go see if it is. But they do have that auditorium in it, which can actually be brought back for events if there's a live band which they want to bring up. They can get that in there. The auditorium is upstairs and downstairs, which looks from the upstairs looks down, so they can also hold people up there for events if possible. Meheut's really good at hopefully bring new job opportunities for young people. They're going to have courses there for music, which is going to be held at the Shetland College, but at the Meheut itself. There's going to be a cafe there for young people to go and socialise through the internet, and two cinemas there, one's 3D, so we get our movies at the same time as we're staying south, so I'll bring more people to Meheut. It will be a great benefit to Shetland, because that's what a lot of young people they want to see instead of having to wait months at a time just to go see something, which they might not even get to go see because a lot of people want to.
Cameron?
I think I can't have large events,
Yeah.
But let's be honest, they'll have towns of stuff. They'll not be cheering, oh, come, what cheers? I mean, how large can you get in Shetland? There only is 22,000 or something. Half of us won't really be cheering about, to be honest. So I think the large events is just really much insignificant. But what Meheut will bring a lot of employment, as Emily said, and it'll bring everything. It'll bring up the Garrison in different head. It'll bring films, probably a lot more films to Garrison has, and I think it'll be good. I think the large events doesn't really matter about, to be honest.
Nicole?
I think that the Meheut is going to be amazing for Shetland. It's got such a musical culture and it's been needing something like this for a while. To say it's not big enough for large events, it's big enough because you can say it's purpose built, but we've never had something like this, so it's not insizing. It's still big as we had before for the music events, and it's been already said that it's just going to be brilliant for young people to have somewhere they can go and be young people.
Thank you. I still have a few questions to ask, but I wanted to ask if there was anybody in the audience who wanted to ask any of the candidates a question based on an answer so far.
Come on, ask me anything. I think we did it both.
Or a completely original question that hasn't been answered at all, that we've been hoping would be asked at some point. Well, I presume that you're all waiting to the end to fire the questions, so I'll just continue to smell. The next question is again about the practice of being in SYP. Cameron, first of all, how will you ensure that you represent young people from all over Shetland and not just the area you live in or your friends live in? How I go about that would be make sure that whenever there's a topic or something, make sure that all areas of Shetland have their thoughts included in what I'm going to represent. I wouldn't mess that. I wouldn't mess it up that. I wouldn't just focus on the policies. I wouldn't do that. I make sure that everybody sees what's going on. Everybody has the option to say, yeah, I think this, I think that, and we'll accumulate that, add it up, and see the majority think this, and I'll go for it. And I'm not care how my friends are when it comes to this. This is just a thing which is everyone, not just your friends, your enemies, we represent everyone. That's what I'm supposed to do. Okay. Nicole?
I think Shetland Youth Voice is a key part in making sure you represent properly all of Shetland and not just your friends or people in your local area. Youth Voice does a lot of consultation, especially recently they've been making sure that they have a stance on every topic that's important in Shetland at the moment, and some national issues as well. So how using that for the SYP to use that as a source is perfect, making sure that they're able to tap in the views of everybody and not just a small group of people.
Just ask a slightly different question to the other two candidates. I don't know who's strong,